Recruiting never stops. It's the Recruiting Insider here on OB Live. That is your Recruiting Insider, Jason Sukamel. As always, we tell you to go to orangebloods.com. Check out Jason's article every week, the 3-2-1. There's all kinds of great stuff at Orange Bloods, but the 3-2-1 article hits every week. Generally, it's kind of where we get some of our info for this show, but we can never hit all of it. Go check out the full 3-2-1, including Jason's updated SEC rankings this week. We are brought to you by Longhorn Wealth Management Group. I'll tell you more about John and his crew as we move along. All right, Jason, we've got kind of a big question that maybe leads us into some dark places. But before we do that, let's get to some lighter, maybe lighter type stuff. There was a commitment that Texas got. We'll get your thoughts on him. But before we do that, there is a big name out in the 2027 class, and it's a huge target for a lot of teams. And you had a chance to catch up with him.
Yeah, you're referencing Ishmael Kamara, the big offensive lineman out of Gilmer. And I say big, he's 6'6", 335. His doctors still think he has a chance to grow, a little bit more, another inch or two. So,
Man.
And we're talking 2027 now. Listen, and we'll touch on this in a little bit. Texas is still trying to add offensive line pieces to its 2026 class. Okay, they have 3 commitments. They're bringing in a couple guys for official visits this weekend. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Ishmael Kamara, Chad, I mean, he's 2027, but this dude is big time. I've been saying it for 4 months. The national services, I don't get it. They had him ranked like down near around 200 or something. Well, now they've come around. As I look at this today, he is the number 31 ranked player in the country overall. And that's only because ESPN's behind the curve. Rivals has him at 22 nationally overall, not by offensive lineman, regardless of position. 24/7 has him 26 in the country. So he's a guy, he's an interesting story. We've probably talked to him a little bit, but he's from France. Obviously lives over here in Gilmer, Texas now, in East Texas. He played football last year, but he had to play JV because it was his first year playing. So there's UIL rules that make that mandatory. So now this year has been his first year on varsity, and college coaches and everybody else is like, whoa, this guy, he calls himself the French freak. And he kind of is. I was lucky enough, I got to see him at some camps in the summer, including the Rivals 5-star. He went up to that camp in Indianapolis where he's competing against the best of the best, and he was a man-child at that camp. So I've been a big fan of his for a long time. Everybody's, I'll say, coming around, but his ranking is starting to reflect what I feel like I have seen. But yeah, I did talk to him this week. He visited Texas once in the earlier this fall for the Sam Houston game. He's coming back in for the Texas A&M game. His season just ended. Gilmer got bumped out of the playoffs in the first round last week. So his focus now, he said, hey, he's going to play in that Polynesian Bowl in Hawaii in January. Again, another big honor. So he said, I'm kind of focused on that. He just focused on still improving. And as far as recruiting goes, he's kind of an interesting story. I mean, he's not a guy that's been on people's radars for 3-4 years like some of these guys in his class, right? So he says, hey, I'm kind of like behind where everybody else is. So I'm taking a little bit slower. But, Texas is very much involved. Texas A&M is very much involved. I mean, he's pretty open at this point. But again, he will be at the Texas game against Texas A&M. He told me in the spring he'll probably drop like a top 10. And he said Texas will definitely make that cut. He has great relationships with the Texas staff. So, he's a guy we've said it all year. Texas needs offensive line help. We've said the past few years, they got to get this guy. It didn't happen. Got to get this guy. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
Got to get this guy. It didn't happen. Well, Ishmael Kamara, they got to get Ishmael Kamara next year. It's a deep offensive line class in the state, but I don't know that Texas is leading with any of those dudes right now. Ishmael Kamara might be their best bet. They need to find a way to land him.
Interesting. From Paris to Gilmer, that's quite a trip. Any direct flights?
I don't know if it was Paris. He's in France somewhere. I don't remember exactly where in France, but yeah.
France.
And he's also the brother. I don't know how this exactly works, but he is the brother of Curtis Brown, the former Texas Longhorns quarterback. Okay. Yeah. So Curtis brought him into a game. So he's got some ties to Texas that you would think would help the Longhorns in this one. But again, he's pretty open. I don't get the impression by any means it's a slam dunk to Texas, but he's a guy, man, if they miss on Ishmael Kamara, you're going to be like, oh, that one's going to sting. That's going to hurt when you factor in how good of a player he is and the fact that he's got some ties to the program.
So not to throw out these names for Texas fans to have that painful feeling, but so this is the Fasusi of this class coming up? That level of guy?
He'd be right there. I mean, Kennedy Brown's, kind of in that discussion too, but I have those two like kind of side by side. Kennedy Brown was at one time the number one player in the ranked player in the country. I think he has dropped. He's now number 4 in the country.
So maybe, are we talking maybe Kamara and Brown are Ojo and Turntine?
They're probably better than that, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Yeah, they're that good of players. And I saw a picture.
Both of them are.
Both of them. I think both of them.
Okay.
I saw a picture, Kennedy Brown, 6'3.5", 285. They were at, I think it might have been a game at Texas A&M or something. Somebody sent me a picture of Kennedy Brown and Ishmael Kamara standing side by side. Ishmael Kamara, I don't want to say he dwarfs him, but he is a good 2 or 3 inches taller and just bigger. Ishmael Kamara, he had some offseason injuries. His weight fluctuated. He's got it down. I'm telling you, man, the guy's just freakishly strong, extremely athletic, bends extremely well. He's just a very unique talent.
I'm assuming at 6'6", 335, the arms aren't exactly short.
No, I haven't measured him, but most people have him listed, Chad, as an interior offensive lineman. I don't know that that's going to be the case. His doctors are projecting him to just kind of stretch out a little bit more.
Yeah. College
coaches have told him, no, dude, you're a tackle. You come to us, you're a tackle. I know Texas likes him at tackle. So, his frame, just because of the 335, I think people just kind of initially pencil him at guard. But, he could be a guy, and I think he might wind up playing tackle at the next level.
Yeah, he grows up a little bit, get a little bit taller. It could be Leonard Davis light. Maybe he sounds like where it could be. Leonard came in, 365, 368?
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember interviewing him and like, oh, man. In fact, he was sitting down. And I was still like, that's a big dude. Like, yeah, Leonard Davis was, just
you can tell. We don't want to put that kind of size pressure on Kamara, but it does sound like maybe he's going to be at least maybe getting to that height by the time he would be coming to college. So Ishmael Kamara in the 27 class, definitely a name to keep in mind. And as Jason said, he's going from he visited the Sam game to who's going to be visiting the A&M game. So
and he told me, Chad, real quick, he goes, man, I have not been to a rivalry game. So he goes, I'm so looking forward to just seeing a fight and these rivals go at it. So he'll get a whole nother experience that he hasn't seen before going to that Texas and Texas A&M game. Yes.
Yeah. What do you mean? Longhorn fans react exactly the same way to Sam fans and A&M fans. It's the same exact thing.
Same atmosphere, same environment. Yeah.
Same environment. Exactly. That'll be fun for Kamara to check out on Black Friday. All right, Jason, let's hit that commitment. Texas did get another commit in the 26 class, and it is a tight end, a flip that they didn't even know they needed. A tight end named Charlie Jellick. What do we need to know?
Yeah, this happened on Thursday night. It was kind of funny because I just filed my war room and we posted it on Orange Bloods. And I don't know, I think I stepped away from the computer or something. And I get a message saying, hey, Texas flipped a guy. And I'm like, gosh, who would that be? So I go sit down and I get on social media and there it is, Charlie Jellick. And I'm like, I've never even heard of that name, Chad. It was very much under the radar. He's a tight end out of Michigan. Listen, this is an interesting story, okay? And he's not going to blow you away with his recruiting ranking. He's a 3-star guy, and I get it. He's not a 5-star guy that people are going to talk about, but he was committed to West Virginia as a tight end. He then flipped to Minnesota as a linebacker. He plays middle linebacker and tight end at the high school level. So he's really good on both sides of the ball, right? Well, Texas kind of found him a few weeks ago. Other people, like, I'm not going to poo-poo other people's reporting, but they were saying, oh, this happened like overnight. No, it didn't. I talked to Charlie, and that's not how it happened. Texas reached out to him a few weeks ago, just said, hey, dude, we like your film. We think you'd fit with what you like to do. We're interested. Are you interested? He said, absolutely. Jeff Banks went up and watched him in person during Texas's off week a couple weeks ago. and offered him kind of quietly. Charlie didn't put anything on social media, and that's why I think people thought it all happened like in a day. But he goes, no, I've just kind of been keeping it quiet while I kind of sorted through what I wanted to do. But he's really excited about that Texas commitment. 6'5", 240. And you watch his film at middle linebacker. A, he runs well. B, he's really physical. So you're like, okay, that guy's just a football player. But then you put on his film at tight end, Chad, and they run more of like a triple option. So he spends a lot of his time blocking. But I mean, he is a physical, aggressive blocker. But I told him, he and I were talking. I said, dude, I get it. And he goes, yeah, that's my kind of my strength. And I said, but your film, you make some really nice contested catches in traffic. And he's like, oh, don't get me wrong. I think I'm a really good receiver too. I just don't get to show that as much. But Texas really liked what they found in him, being an every down tight end, a wide tight end, meaning he's going to be more of a traditional, tight end lined up along the line of scrimmage, but can help you in the run game with his blocking. He can sneak out, catch some passes and make some plays. So again, not a guy that's going to move the needle a ton in terms of, a huge offer list or a big ranking. But when you watch his film, you're like, okay, I get it. I see what the coaches see here. They needed a tight end in this class. They hadn't had one before Charlie Gillett committed. So all happened pretty quickly over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, but he's committed. He might visit this weekend for his official visit. He's still literally, as of right before we recorded this, he and I were texting. He goes, it's still kind of up in the air. It'll either be this weekend or the weekend of the Texas A&M game. His team is still in the college football playoffs. His team is still in the high school playoffs. So he's kind of trying to sort through his schedule, but he's excited to be a Longhorn. He's ready. He said, I'm ready to enroll in January and get to work.
Very nice. Michigan kid was going to go to Minnesota. He will love the weather in Austin. Boy, is he going to love Austin, Texas. Come on down, Charlie, and check it out. That's a name to definitely keep an eye on if you're a Texas fan moving into the next couple years. Charlie Gillett, the tight end, now a part of the 2026 class. We'll keep talking recruiting here on the Insider, including your Q&A. We'll talk about the visitors coming in for the Arkansas game. Right now, let me tell you about Longhorn Wealth Management Group. John and his crew are the official sponsor. And John, as we tell you all the time, UT through and through. So he certainly was frustrated and disappointed in that fourth quarter collapse against Georgia. But he believes the team will rebound. Got to have faith to take its own frustrations out on Arkansas. John likes a 37-20 UT victory on Saturday. And with that confidence in mind, he wants all OB Live fans to take advantage of the free 90-minute private consultation. Learn how working with a certified financial planner like John can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacies. Call 972-707-4900 or go to longhornwealth.net. I think every Longhorn fan watching right now would take a score like that in the Texas-Arkansas game.
I was switching over to doing something else. What was John's prediction?
37-20.
I'm going to go closer than that when I make my prediction. I don't know. This Arkansas offense scares me a little bit. So.
Yeah, boy, they are playing some close games, aren't they? My goodness. 6 of the 8 losses by 6 or less. I mean, they just play. They get you into battles. Even if it's a late score to make it close, they'll do something to scare you at some point. We'll definitely talk about that game a lot this week. So, Jason, let's just kind of a general question. You can kind of go wherever you want, but watching your reporting, listening to you and Catch and the Orange Bloods crew breaking down recruiting right now, just feels like there's something weird going on. So now we're sitting here after those 3 road games all ended in losses. You knew Texas couldn't go 0-3 in the Ohio State, Florida, and Georgia games, but it's exactly what they did. We always talk about results don't always affect recruiting, but this is a different era that we're trying to figure out. So give me your sense of it as we head into this week where obviously there's 2 games left. One of them feels different maybe than it did at the beginning of the year with A&M, and certainly Arkansas is no game you can look past. So where are you right now on what's going on with Texas and specifically here recruiting?
Yeah, I wrote a segment in my 321 talking about Texas is kind of walking a slippery slope right now for me, okay? And this 2026 class, it's number 8 in the country. That's good. Not up to where they've been in previous years, but it's good. And they might add a couple pieces late, but I don't know that it's anybody that's going to move this class up the rankings significantly. On the flip side, if Texas loses a commitment or two, it could drop this class, down further than number 8. Okay. But 2026, it's fine. I mean, they got some really good players. They got several 5-stars in there. I think they have almost as many 5-stars as anybody in the country, except for Alabama. But 2027, Chad, is a little bit, I don't say alarming, but I mean, that might be too strong of a word, but it's a little bit concerning. Texas Tech has 4 commitments. They've got the number 1 class in the country. They've got a 5-star commitment. They got another guy who might be a 5-star commitment as the rankings, as they kind of expand out those 5-stars. Oklahoma has the number 2 class in the country. I think they have, 6 commitments. They got 1 5-star, another offensive lineman could end up being a 5-star. Texas A&M has the number 4 ranked class in the country. They just picked up a commitment from Jaquan Snell, a guy that one of the top players in the state from Waxahachie, as you know, a guy Texas really wanted. Everybody really wanted. Texas has 0 commitments in that 2027 class. They had one, Taven Epps. He peeled off his commitment. He probably is going to end up at Oklahoma, in my estimation. So Texas just has no momentum in that 2027 class. In years past, okay, you'd look at that and be like, that's what Texas does. Sark and the staff, they just take things slower. They don't really put their foot on the gas until the summer. Well, that's true to some degree, but times are different, man. This NIL thing, this recruiting cycle is changing things. Things are speeding up. Texas doesn't seem to be adjusting with those changes. And you factor in what A&M's doing on the field, what Texas Tech's doing on the field, what Oklahoma is now doing on the field. You can't just count on, hey, we'll go in June and we'll steal a bunch of their commitments and flip those guys. No, man, they've already got big NIL deals in place. Those teams have momentum on the field, whereas Texas has kind of lost some of that. It's a slippery slope. Texas needs to find a way to change course, do some things differently, and get this thing corrected. Like, there's one player who's committed in the state of Texas, and it's a guy Texas wanted. And I was told other schools made very aggressive NIL pitches to him. He ended up taking one of them. Texas never talked NIL. Never did. And I don't get it why everybody else is doing this. I mean, if you look at it's the same guy. It's the Ohio States of the world. They're all at the top of the commitment list for 2027. I get it. It's super early. We're 13 months away from those guys signing, but Texas has 0 commitments. And if I looked at the top 10 guys in the state of Texas, I don't know which guys that I would say Texas leads for. I don't know that there's a one, in fact.
Real quick,
John,
Jason, in terms of the NIL discussion, is your sense of it, if Texas's theory is let's wait till late and then we'll put an NIL number up there that'll really impress them, you feel like that's not working as much anymore? Or is there something that's binding these kids to that former school? Like, is it not just a commitment now, but maybe it's a different feeling because there's NIL? Or maybe are they signing documentation that is making it a little more permanent on the front end?
Yeah, I don't think they can legally sign documentation, not in the state of Texas. I don't. Yeah. That's kind of been changing, but I honestly don't know if they're signing something. But it's not like, okay, like Justice Terry or Derek Cooper in this class, or James Johnson, where Texas kind of swooped in and at the last minute went from down here to got their commitment. Yeah. Those dudes were uncommitted. Okay, these guys, I mean, Jaquan Snell being committed to A&M. What are you going to do? Wait till June, 7 months, 8 months from now and be like, hey, Jaquan, come take a visit. Jaquan's like, nah, I'm good, man. I've been committed to A&M for a long time. That team's played really well. I've got a tremendous NIL offer from them. I just don't think that's a recipe for success, just thinking you're going to just automatically be able to flip people because you're Texas. And frankly, Texas NIL dollars, people think Texas has these money trees growing all over. Their NIL dollars aren't any better than Texas A&M, than Texas Tech, maybe a little bit than Oklahoma. They might even be behind Texas Tech and Texas A&M, if we're being honest. So, yeah, I don't think it's a case where you can just count on flipping guys or just going in late and just moving the needle on them. Those guys are going to be locked in for quite a while at that point. You know, you hear things about, like, I heard it this week, like, not only are these guys committing early, and I'm not mentioning any names here. I'm not saying it's anybody we've talked about, but I'm just talking these top national prospects in general. They commit early, Chad, and they keep going back to those campuses over and over and over, the campus that they've committed to. You know what? Because they get a little pocket change every time they go down there. So helps keep them committed, helps keep them solid. So
and that's okay now, right?
No, that's not. No, it's not okay.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
No, you can't give them pocket change when they show up on campus, but it doesn't stop people from doing it.
So you're saying there is still some old school college football going on?
Yeah, when I say pocket change, it would more than pay my mortgage for the month. So I'm not talking $100, $100 handshake like you used to hear.
Just to make sure, does it come wrapped in Southwest Conference stationery? Like, how does that?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how they hand it to them or what it comes packaged in. But it happens, man. And anybody who says it isn't is being naive. I mean, I know for a fact.
Yeah.
Last cycle, there was one recruit who was getting big money just to take visits. And that recruit did not ever visit Texas. And I'm talking unofficial visits. Never visited Texas.
That's crazy. So do you think that's behind the scenes? Is that part of the discussion now of, hey, why don't you come take a visit? And the response from the player or maybe a rep is like, yeah, if you pay us.
Sure. Yeah. Make it worth our while, especially if you're an out-of-state guy. Hey, if I got to buy a plane ticket and get there and do all this, yeah, you better make it worth our while. So it's happening. It's not legal, but it happens. You know, I think everybody kind of turns a blind eye to it, but it's just a different world, Chad. I mean, recruiting is constantly evolving, and I was talking to someone last night, and I said, hey, Texas is recruiting like they did 2 years ago, or maybe even last year. Recruiting is way different than it was 2 years ago, or even 12 months ago. It's just, things are changing, and I feel like Texas is behind the curve on some of it. Maybe it all works out. Maybe this patient strategy still works out. But I feel like it's getting more and more difficult to have a winning formula by using that strategy.
That is wild. Definitely something to keep an eye on. All right, we'll dig into some Q&A coming up here. There's definitely a question kind of along that line in the Q&A. We'll get to that. Let me tell you about Longhorn Wealth Management Group. One more time, John and his crew. Remember, John's in the Dallas area as a part of the Collin County chapter. If you're in that part of the world and you're looking for a place to watch the game, how about Dirty Birds in Plano? They're going back there on Saturday for the Texas X's official game watch party. Reach out to John for all the details. Also, John wants to remind everybody, November is National Alzheimer's Awareness Month. He's encouraging all OB Live fans to review their own long-term care protection strategies to ensure that they are properly protected if they or their spouse are afflicted with Alzheimer's or any other such incapacitating condition. Remember, that free 90-minute private consultation can get you started. Review and analyze your risk management profile. Call 972-707-4900 or go online to longhornwealth.net. Oh, by the way, you know John follows a lot of different recruiting stuff. On a final note, upbeat note, John also wants to congratulate Coach Miller and the men's basketball program for landing 26 stud recruit Austin Gooseby. Yep, he's related to the left tackle. Got that done on Monday. John wants to send out his congratulations for that. Some definite good news for Texas on the basketball side of things. All right, Jason, let's grab some Q&A here. You mentioned the name earlier, so let's throw this out. And hang on one second. Let me make sure we can see things because we are old men. And there we go. Okay, very, very good. Now that Snell is off the board, any chances with John Meredith? Any chances on getting back in with Snell?
I don't remember exactly how I answered it, but not great chances on either one, to be honest. Texas is in John Meredith, who's the number one player in the country, by the way, at Euless Trinity, but cornerback.
Okay, so just to be clear, Snell more of a safety, Meredith more of a corner?
Yeah, and Meredith's got great length, too. I mean, he's 6'2", 175. Jaquan's 6'3", 192. So they're both big, long, lengthy defensive backs. But, yeah, Meredith more of a corner. You know, he has a top 12. Texas is in that top 12. But I would probably put Texas in the bottom third of that top 12. He hasn't visited the UT campus since I don't think it was in the summer. It might have been last spring. I remember he came in. And at that time, Chad, like I was talking to people close to John Meredith, and they were like, hey, yeah, Texas a strong player here. Well, not as much anymore. A&M's a strong player. Alabama, Ohio State, even Texas Tech. I think he was at Texas Tech last weekend. So I don't like Texas's position with John Meredith. They're going to have to really, pull some strings, get him on campus, get him in for an official visit. But right now, I think Texas is very much playing from behind there. Any chances on getting back in with Snell? I said I don't love Texas' chances there either. There was a time early on when Texas was a very strong contender for Jaquan Snell. They just kind of faded and fell off, and A&M surged. Of course, he committed to A&M last week. Ohio State was a strong player there. Texas is very much down the pack there. So, could things change? Yeah, it's recruiting. Anything's possible. But right now, I don't love Texas's chances on either of those defensive backs.
All right. Kind of a general question here. You were just talking about recruiting, but I think we know what this question is going to. But how much damage has been done? I guess kind of back to the way I set up the question, Jason, but now that the season's played out the way it has, plus like you're talking about maybe recruiting strategies, like right now, how do you answer this one?
Kind of like we talked about, I said, 2026, they're having a good class and it'll be a good class. Is it going to be top 5 in the country, top 3 in the country, number 1 in the country like we've seen in recent years? Probably not, but it's kind of top heavy, which I'm okay with. They've got, several 5-star players in there that they have committed. But for me, it's more about that 2027 group, as we talked about. Like I said, hey, the wheels haven't fallen off. I'm not screaming panic here or screaming fire in a crowded theater. But this season hasn't helped. Texas just kind of lack of early aggression, kind of falling behind some other programs in some of these recruits hasn't helped. People think Texas has these unlimited NIL pockets. Well, that's not the case. And especially when you don't have as good a season as people think you should. And some of those people are like, why am I giving a ton of money to this program when it's taking steps backwards? Well, that impacts NIL for the future. So again, I said this on Anwar's show on Tuesday. We know that the play on the field hasn't met expectations. But there are some things behind the scenes, too, that I think need to get corrected, too. So how much damage has been done? Again, the wheels aren't falling off the Texas program, but there are some issues that need to get corrected moving forward for this thing to get turned around.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. All right, Jason, let's go to 2 position groups I know Texas fans are focused on right now. How many offensive linemen and running backs do we need to add for next season? I only saw 1 running back committed. Is that correct?
That is correct, and that's Derek Cooper, of course. We've talked about him at length on this show, the running back out of Florida who's committed to Texas. He'll actually be in town this weekend for the Arkansas game, so that's a big development. Texas still trying to fend off programs like Miami there. So he is the only one running back committed, but they did just offer Jet Walker out of Pflugerville High School. He's committed to speaking of Minnesota, he's committed to Minnesota. He will be in Austin this weekend for an official visit. So, he's taking a pretty level-headed approach to things, but he's from Georgetown, kind of grew up a Texas fan. So I think Texas has a really good shot there. Texas has 3 offensive line commitments. How many do they need? They're bringing in 2 guys this weekend, Caden Scherer from another Georgetown guy and Bryson Martinez out of Louisiana. Both are coming in for official visits this weekend. So the staff would love to see that number get to 4, maybe even 5 offensive linemen. Right now they're at 3, but they'll try to bump that number up with a productive visit weekend coming up this weekend.
Yeah, sounds like PJ Fleck's going to get annoyed with the Longhorns pretty quickly. Man. And both those positions too, Jason, also fair to say that both recruiting and in the portal probably needs some attention for both, right?
I would think so. I would think at offensive line, they probably more so even than running back. They've got to get some experience along the offensive line because they're going to lose 3 starters again from that offensive line. And, running back, if Trey Wisner comes back, he can make a case, hey, if you can get healthy there. But certainly I think they could use a bit more explosiveness through the portal at running back. But also Derek Cooper, who I mentioned, he brings some of that too. So maybe he can bring that explosive factor to the running game.
All right, Jason, this last one, let's go back to some positivity. Positive thoughts out there on the last Q&A. This one says, we beat Arkansas and then A&M by double digits. So they're talking 28-17 on Black Friday night. Does that get us into the playoffs, in your opinion?
Well, I like the positivity of Texas winning those games, but I'm going to be a bit of a Debbie Downer. I don't think that gets Texas into the playoffs. I think they would still need help, and who knows what the hell that committee might think. But I feel like they've punished Texas already for the Florida loss, for the close wins against Kentucky and Mississippi State. So, they just got thumped by Georgia by 25 points. That's still going to be fresh in everybody's minds. The A&M game would be the most fresh, so that would maybe carry some weight. But I think Texas, even in that scenario, would probably need some help to get into the playoffs.
So, Jason, a question about a team that might be in their way. I think we can all agree OU's got to lose a game. That's a pretty simple one. They need to get to 3 losses, and then Texas would have the head-to-head. I think the committee would like them over OU then. What do you think about a 2-loss Utah? If they end up they're playing the Kansas teams to finish, by the way, at 8-2. If they finish 10-2, and they won't at this point, I don't think they can get in. Maybe they can get into the Big 12 title game, and I don't know how, but let's say they don't. 10-2 Utah, 9-3 Texas, and let's say they have beaten A&M 28-17. Let's go ahead and lay that out as what has happened. Do you think the committee would lean Texas there and send them to the playoff and leave Utah to the side, or would you kind of fear the Utes there?
Utah got beat pretty badly by Texas Tech, right? And it was BYU. Is that their other loss? I don't even know.
Yeah, they lost to Tech and BYU, and then they do have a couple wins against ranked teams. They're low-ranked teams. They're like 21-ranked Arizona State, and there's another game they've got where they beat like a top 15, 20-ish team, but they don't have anything that's like top 10 wins, and Texas will have 3 of them.
That's tough. I mean, that Texas name still carries a lot of clout and a lot of weight and a lot of TV viewership. So, but again, I mean, I can see it both ways. Texas fans would be up in arms if Utah played our schedule, and that's all true.
Right.
But Utah also didn't go to overtime with Mississippi State. They didn't go to overtime with Kentucky. They don't have a loss against Florida, one of the worst teams in the conference, on their ledger. So, I mean, Texas has some high marks with, the win over Oklahoma and in that scenario, a win over A&M. But Texas has a lot more kind of low marks on their resume than a team like Utah does too. So I don't know the answer to that, Chad. I don't know. It'll make for some interesting TV watching when those rankings get released in that scenario.
Yeah, definitely will. We'll see. Feels like there might be, if Texas pulls it off and gets to 9-3, it feels like there'll be a group of teams of maybe 4 or 5 or 6 teams fighting for 2 spots. And then the question is who's going to, make those arguments. So Texas is going to need some teams to get out of the way. As far as this week's games, I guess it's, you root for Oregon to beat USC, give them a 3rd loss this week, or do you want Oregon to get a 2nd loss this week if you're a Texas fan?
I don't think Texas gets in over Oregon, right? Even with 2 losses. So
yeah, with 2, right? Maybe get USC out of the way.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting games to watch from here, obviously, till the end. Thank you for those questions on Q&A. That is part of the 3-2-1. Usually each week, and a lot of good questions will roll in. Check out orangebloods.com and the 3-2-1, rumor mills and truths and lies and all that. Of course, the famous War Room on Thursday nights. Got Catch's 10 Thoughts from the weekend on Sundays. Anwar's Sunday Pulpit on Sundays. Alex Dunlap breaking it all down in the Deep Dig. I haven't even read through it, but I did like the title of one of the Deep Digs this week. As soon as the portal opens, Deep Dig. I'm like, well, I think I know where he might be heading on that. And obviously Jason's great work with 3-2-1 and all the recruiting stuff that you want at orangebloods.com. This may be a great time for you to get signed up. Hit the QR code because it is, I always say, there's only one sports circus out there that might be more circusy than the Longhorns, and it's the Cowboys. Jump on in to that circus because it's definitely feeling like a big top right now. Thanks to Longhorn Wealth Management Group for their sponsorship. Before we get out of here, Jason, you mentioned Derek Cooper, which would certainly be a huge name coming in for the Arkansas game. We've talked about this game as the last kind of normal weekend because of the Black Friday A&M game. What kind of a list are we looking at for the Arkansas game?
Yeah, it's going to be a big list of 2027s of Texas commits, unofficial visitors, but and we'll have an update on that on Orange Bloods. But it's also going to be a big official visit weekend. I mentioned a couple of them. Bryson Martinez, the offensive lineman out of Louisiana, he'll be there. I mentioned Jet Walker, Caden Scherer, the two offensive linemen or two players out of Georgetown. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Josiah Villamil is a defensive back out of Fort Bend Travis. He'll be in on an official visit. I mean, I'm on commitment watch for Josiah. I was told today, Rich Anderson, for someone close to him, big defensive tackle out of Edna Carr. He's teammates of Texas commitment Hayward Howard. He's coming in this weekend. I was told on an official visit. I need to confirm that.
Okay.
I mentioned Charlie Gillick, the new commitment. He's a maybe coming in this weekend.
Okay.
And then Teray Davis is a kind of a DB athlete out of Colorado that was going to maybe visit a couple weeks ago for the Vandy game. That didn't happen. I've got him as a maybe. I'm still working to confirm if he's for sure coming in, but looks like 5, maybe up to 7 official visitors this weekend, Chad, on top of what should be a pretty extensive list of unofficial visitors, some pretty good unofficial visitor talent on campus as well.
Sounds like there'll be a lot of energy. And if this Arkansas team keeps doing what it's been doing, there'll be some points on the board. The question is, can Texas get more? Usually Arkansas helps you by not playing defense, and then they let you get a little bit more than they get. We'll see what happens if that's the game. I think that's the game it turns into, by the way. I just think that's what Arkansas does. Let's just hope Texas has a few more. Maybe it's 1 more. Maybe it's 3 more points. But that's kind of what Arkansas has been doing. At this point, we know what Texas has to do. Got to find 2 wins and then see if you can put enough together for the committee to care about. All right. Either way, it is always crazy with recruiting. It never stops. And that's why we get you the Recruiting Insider. Next week, it'll be the Thanksgiving week edition. But recruiting never stops. And you know there'll be a nice list of guys coming in for Texas and Texas A&M. So we'll hit you with that next week. Thank you for checking us out. We debut, of course, Wednesdays at 10. If you're watching in that 10 o'clock hour spot, thank you so much. If you're checking us out later, we know a lot of you do that in however it works in your schedule. Thank you for making us part of your world. Thank you for supporting us here at Orange Bloods Live. Like, subscribe, get those notifications. Until next week, this is the Recruiting Insider on Orange Bloods Live. See ya.